a client who wasn't sure. Oh no, a consultation, wasn't it? I mean, you tell the story, Paul. Why not?
Was this the one about the scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, the scale of 1 to 10, and not knowing whether you want to do group, individual, big group, small group, this, that, hit, whatever, anything.
Well, I think you've got to have a reason to do things, haven't you? Some reason. I mean, it's not saying you've got to have some kind of big kind of purpose in life to turn up to the gym, but there's got to be a reason to make a decision about something. And I try and get people to make decisions when I sit down with them. That can go one of two ways. Sometimes people feel like really pressured, like, oh, the hard sale, something like that. But it's not really a hard sale, because I've sat down with people who want to think about it after you've spent 45 minutes chatting, and I understand that, because it feels like a big thing to make a decision, but ultimately they probably spent 1 year to 2 years thinking about it, and it's the very reason why they're not seeing any results, because they're not willing to make a decision. And it's not my job to be their friend in a way. It's my job to put them in a situation where they can make really constructive decisions, and that may be a no. That may be a no for really valid reasons. They don't like me, don't think the program is going to get them from A to B, might not be in their budget, whatever it is, but at least they've taken charge. Because rarely, I don't know about you, Peter, but rarely does anyone come back to me after saying, I'll think about it. I mean, if they do, it's always a no.
Well, I've just written down while you were talking there, they're not thinking about it, they're overthinking it.
They're overthinking it. Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about this at the minute, and getting out of your own way. Like mindset and all that. And I've done all this before, but it's one of those things. If you don't keep doing it and you don't consider it, you fool yourself.
Yeah.
So you've just said he might have spent 1 or 2 years before he's even got to you, right? So he's been
just any individual, you know.
Yeah. So they've been thinking about it for that long. So how many times have you talked yourself out of it over that time? And then you have a chat with him, and you go, I'm not big on the hard sell. It's like, you're not giving the hard sell. You're saying, here's what the program is. You came in for a consultation and asked about it. I'm telling you what it is. Do you want to do it or not? Simple as that. And then if he or anybody goes away and says, I need to think about it for a couple of days, what they mean is, I need to go away and talk myself out of it.
Exactly.
That's usually the thing. And the people who then go, do you know what? I've been thinking about this for 2 years or however long. I'm ready. I'm bloody ready. I'm in. And I get that with people after doing, because I do a 2-week trial and they come along, and at the end of it, I don't do a hard sell. I'm just like, if you want to carry on, here's the details. It's this much. It starts next. You can start next week. It's this much per month. You pay monthly. You can cancel whenever you like. And usually they're either I'm in, or I was in after the first couple of sessions, or I'll go away and think about it, or I think you're worth that. However, I think it's a bit much for me, so I'm going to go and find something else. And I'm like, either way, it's fine.
Well, the thing is, what you could do is you could say, right, here you go, you sign up, you get 2 weeks for free, and then it goes into a normal membership. You've got to cancel it. So you kind of got to go, you've got to actively say no, rather than, because this is one of the things that I think a lot of people are, that they are bombarded with an amount of information. And part of my job is to guide someone to make a decision. And one of the people I met with today was like, I said, where are you on this scale of 1 to 10? 1 being being apathetic, and 10 being like super engaged and like, I'm ready to crush this. I'm going to do this right now. Where do you sit on that scale? So, well, I think about 6. And I'm like, and I had to say to him, so why are you here then? Because what we do here is get someone a result. And no one is going to achieve a high level of results on a 6. Like, if you're in a job where you're putting 6 out of 10 in effort, you're probably not going to be promoted. You're not going to stay in that job. You're not going to enjoy that job. If you're like a 9 or a 10, then there's like there's drive there. And
absolutely.
I think and you've got to ask those hard questions. And I've got to put someone into that situation in which it is uncomfortable, because they're in the situation they are today because of a lack of decision making. They've put off at every point where they could have made a decision to eat well or do some exercise. They've thought about it and not done it.
Yeah.
And that is a tough pill to swallow at times. I mean, I with business coach, sometimes sits down and says, it's your job to guide them. It's your job to be there, to be liked. You want to be liked because you want people to trust you. But at the same time, you're kind of not doing your job if you don't get them to answer that question, I don't think.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just thinking about this, right? I originally thought, right, imagine doing a job, and if your boss said, right, you're only putting in 60% of the effort, so I'm going to pay you 60% of your pay.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be very happy, right? However, that's not a thing, because most people probably do only put 60% of the effort in, to be fair, and still get paid what they paid. So like, that's a bad example.
Yeah.
However, in fact, 60%, not saying people put in 60% of the effort, that's probably being quite generous. The number of hours you spend at work and the actual amount of work you do is it's going to be something like 20% or something, isn't it? It's not a lot.
It's one of the reasons I left my last job. Years ago. It's because I knew I wasn't pulling. Not that I wasn't pulling my weight. It's just I mean, I think about the amount of focus I put in my current job and how much time and how much like I'm like constantly like 100%. I have to be. I don't have a choice.
But you enjoy it as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, I definitely was nowhere near that on my previous job.
Well, yeah. So the other way of thinking, I've just thought about this, and I'm going to use Jed as an example, who came to me and he wanted to pass the SFG2 and press the 36 bell, right? And if I'd have said to him how out of us on a scale of 1 to 10 how committed, and he said a 6, I'd be like, right, okay, I'll get you to press a 21 bell or a 22 kilo bell. He'd be like, well, hang on, that's not what I want. It's like, yeah, but that's 60% of what you want. So if that's where you are, that's what I'll get you. And he'd be like, exactly. Hang on, I can already do that, and I'll press it for reps. And I'll be like, exactly. So you're
just not going to do some of that kind of pursuit like that with 60% effort. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And from your own experience of just training on your program, you can't just dip in and out of it and then turn up and one leg squat 40 kilos.
No.
There's just no way of doing it 60% unless you're an athletic freak.
This is the thing, and it's I mean, this is what we were talking about, right? So when you were saying about like a consultation, someone's a 6 out of a 10, but then they also say, well, I don't know whether I want to do. So I do small group training. I'll call it small group. I mean, sometimes we get up to like 7 people, which is quite a big group.
Semi-private, really. That's what.
But I mean, that'll be, most of the people know what they're doing. I never get new people turning up where there's like 7 of them. I won't allow that. I can't teach 7 people how to do something and keep an eye on them all on my own. And some people might think they can. I might very well be able to, but I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. 2 or 3, fine. So, but what happens with me is that most of the guys know what they're doing anyway. There might be one or two people who are new, who I'm teaching. So that's cool. And the other guys, I'll keep an eye on them. And in those sessions, I won't give them anything to do that they don't know that they're going to hurt themselves with.
Yeah.
So that's, what you call semi-private, small group, whatever. But then you get group training, you get your bigger groups, don't you? Or your classes where you turn up and they give you things to do and play loud music and you jump around and all that sort of stuff. And then there's obviously individual, one-on-one and what have you. So, you were saying like sometimes people don't know what they want, which of those that they want.
Yeah.
They just want the motivation. And it's like, well, each one of them will give you what you want if you commit to it, right?
It depends where you want to sacrifice, because you're sacrificing something. Like with one-to-one, you sacrifice more money.
Yes.
For your attention. With large group, you sacrifice the personal attention for less money. And so, sitting down with this guy, it's like, well, what do you want to sacrifice? Because you're not going to find a compromise where you get high levels of personalized attention, high levels of result for a low amount of money. Well, you can, but those people go out of business very quickly.
Yes.
So, and then they won't be of any help to you. And that's why you get that huge turnover of trainers, because they undervalue themselves. I'm £35 an hour. Yeah, you're not going to stay in the industry that long because you just can't afford it. So I think I sent him away to say, look, you've got to think about if you're willing to make that budget available for the amount of attention you want, or you're willing to sacrifice the attention that you want, spend less.
Yeah, which is a very simple calculation, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's funny. I was just thinking about when you said that, one of my guys, the guy who's the lead singer of Sergeant Thunderhoof, he runs a recording studio.
Yeah.
And he over lockdown, it was quite funny because obviously he wasn't open.
Yeah.
And he did a thing about pretty much exactly the same thing about money and how much people pay and what people have said to him, like bands have said to him. And he did a kind of a weekly podcast type thing on YouTube.
Yeah.
and it was conversations he's had with bands was part of this thing, right? Yeah. And you'd get bands turn up and say, right, well, we need to set up first, so they'd book in for an hour and they think they could set up, do an hour's practice, and then take everything down as well. And he's like, no, if you've booked in for an hour or 2 hours or however long it is, I don't know.
We've got to get everything done. Yeah.
You've got to set up, do your practice, and then leave, because the next person will be turning up, and then they've got to set up, do the practice, and leave.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, well, the last place we used to go to used to let us do that. And he's like, well, go there then, and the people were like, we can't, they've gone out of business. And he was like, I'm not bloody surprised.